Thank you, Andy. Good afternoon to all P5 parents and a blessed Maundy Thursday. A warm welcome to our webinar on the new PSLE scoring system and direct school admissions into secondary schools. I'm John Lim, the VP of the school. If you're wondering why I'm dressed in this costume, this attire, it's because today we celebrate International Friendship Day. Next. Right, this afternoon I'll be sharing with you two parts. First, the new PSLE scoring system, which started in 2021 last year. And of course, your child's secondary school posting when he takes PSLE in the year 2023. Second part will be the direct school admission to secondary schools, after which we will have a question and answer time. Next, please. Right. Going forward to share with you about the rationale and intent of the changes. Now, over the years, MOE has been moving away from an overemphasis on academic results towards a broad-based and well-rounded education. The PSLE changes from 2021 last year are actually a step in the same direction. And all these changes aim to do two things. First, to reduce the fine differentiation at a young age based on PSLE scores. So prior to 2021, we have this T-score system which differentiates students very finely, all right? So you can have a student who has a T-score grade of 231, another one who scores 230, and they, may be just equally ready for secondary school. So from last year, 2021 onwards, we have adopted this achievement level system. And each AL will actually span a range of marks, which I will go into details later on. So the AL will replace the subject T-score, and students who perform similarly will be grouped in the same AL. Next. Second aim of the changes is to recognize that our students' level of achievements, regardless of how his peers have done. So you see, prior to 2021, we have the T-score system. And the T-score basically shows how a student performed relative to his cohort. So your child may do well in a subject, but if most of the cohort performs better than him, he will actually get a lower T-score. From 2021, last year onwards, the difference is that once your child meets the professionally set standard expected at that certain achievement level or AL, he will receive the AL, regardless of how his peers have performed. And we think that most parents will feel that this is actually more congruent with our all-round development, especially in the primary school. And through this, we hope to reduce this excessive focus on academic results. Of course, rest assured that all these changes will not affect the curriculum and the subjects tested at PSLE. There is a regular review of our syllabus and curriculum by MOE over time to ensure that it is always relevant and updated. Next. Right. Let me just go on to the changes in the PSLE scoring. I'll be covering the following: from T-score to a wider scoring band, and then we'll go on to just briefly talk about students taking foundation level subjects or a combination of standard and foundation. And I think some of you will be interested to find out about the MTL exemption, as well as those of you whose children are taking foreign language or Asian languages, like our NTIL students, right? And I'll touch briefly on the calculation of the PSLE score by way of illustration. And then finally, of course, the secondary school course placement and how this is done. Next. So you can see that we have moved from this T-score now to what we call a wider scoring band. And we offer a total of 8 achievement level, AL1 to AL8. Why 8 AL, you may ask? Actually, we feel that 8 AL offers a good balance, right? It reduces fine differentiation of students, but at the same time, it does provide some differentiation to give parents, yourself, and us educators a gauge of your child's progress at the end of primary school. And with the aim of matching your child to a suitable academic program in the secondary school journey he will be taking later on. Now you will notice that this AL scoring system has reduced if you compare with the T-score system, right? There are as many as 200 or more possible T-score aggregates. So that's how fine was the differentiation. And today we have this AL scoring system, which basically boils down to just 29 possible PSLE scores. So as a result of this AL system, students will be placed in fewer groups, right? Compared to the 200 over possibilities, right? And of course, this gives us, a more balanced way of looking at your child's performance. Next. So what about students taking foundation level subjects? Now, in the AL system, foundation subjects will be graded into 3 bands: achievement levels, or ALs A to ALC. For the purpose of Sec 1 posting, achievement levels A to C will actually be mapped to AL 6 to 8 of the standard level subjects, respectively, to derive the overall PSLE score. In other words, AL A will be mapped to AL 6, AL B mapped to AL 7, and ALC, achievement level C, will be mapped to achievement level 8 of the standard level subjects. How does this mapping take place? In summary, the mapping is based on the learning load of the subjects. And actually, what is more critical is that this mapping reflects the students' readiness to access the secondary school curriculum. So the calculation for those who are exempted, MTL exemption, as well as those who are taking Asian language or foreign language, right? So for students who are exempted from MTL, or they take an Asian language or foreign language in lieu of our official mother tongue language, their PSLE result slips will only reflect 3 subjects that they have taken. However, because of Sec 1 posting purpose, we need to assign these students a PSLE score that comprises the 4 subjects. So to determine the assigned mother tongue language score, right, we make reference to the MTL scores of other students who have achieved similar scores in English, mathematics, and science. So students will receive an assigned MTL score between AL 6 to 8. This acknowledges that students do have valid reasons. Some of your boys may have valid reasons for seeking mother tongue exemption, or for taking an Asian language or even a foreign language. But we also want to ensure some parity between the scoring for mother tongue exemption, for foundation mother tongue and standard mother tongue languages. Next. So how do we go about calculating the PSLE score? The achievement levels of each of the 4 subjects will be added together to form the overall PSLE score, right? And as I mentioned earlier on, this PSLE score actually replaces the T-score in the past, right? So I have here an example of a student who scored AL3 for English, AL2 for mother tongue, AL1 for math, and AL2 for science. So that 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 gives you a total PSLE score of 8. Now, for students who offer a mix of standard and foundation level subjects, their PSLE scores will be the sum of the AL scores of all their standard and foundation subjects they are taking. Students taking foundation subjects may still be eligible for the express course if they do well in other subjects. Next. For the secondary school course placement, we will be using the PSLE score to place students into appropriate courses in secondary school, right? Be it express, normal acad, or normal technical, so that they can learn at a pace that's comfortable to them. Now, the PSLE score for the different courses are indicated in the top table you see there, right? So for express, the placement criteria is between 4 to 20. For the eligibility for normal acad will be 23 to 24, and normal technical between 26 to 30, with an AL7 or better in both English and mathematics, because these are the core or foundation subjects. Now, the bottom table is interesting. It shows that with subject-based banding that has already taken place in secondary schools, right? So by the time your child is ready to take PSLE, your child's secondary school will most likely be also adopting SBB or subject-based banding. Students actually will be able to take selected subjects at a more demanding level, right? For example, right, if they achieve a PSLE subject score of AL5 or better in a standard level subject, they have an option to take that subject at express level, right? Next. So how does secondary one posting works, right? Students will continue to be posted to a secondary school based on their overall PSLE score. Now, if we have 2 or more students with the same PSLE score and they are vying for the last remaining place in that school, we will be applying the following tiebreaker. The first tiebreaker would, of course, be citizenship, right? Singapore citizen will take priority over other citizens. Second is the choice order of schools. Now, because majority of our students are Singapore citizens, the choice order of schools will matter more. So after we have given priority to Singapore citizens, followed by PR and international students, next comes the choice order. So why does choice order matters? Because from our experience so far, especially with the first exam, the adoption of the new system in last year's PSLE, with the broader AL scoring bands, we actually have more students having the same PSLE score. And schools will also be less differentiated based on the cutoff points. So with choice orders, actually students can choose from a wider range of schools of a similar academic profile and pick those that are a good academic educational fit for them. Yeah, I think this is something very important for parents to take note. In fact, Mr. Martin Tan had spoken to all the P5 pupils last week. Yeah, so this week we are just addressing all of you parents, right? And of course, later on during Q&A, you can put forward some of your questions if you do have. But do take note of the 3 tiebreakers: citizenship, followed by choice order of schools. And then last but not least, of course, if everything else remains tight, then you'll be computerized balloting, right? So, but do take note that choice order of schools will matter more. Next. Now, this is for those who are taking higher Chinese. It's for admission into SAP schools. We do not have that for higher Malay or higher Tamil, right? But for higher Chinese, there's an added option of admission into SAP school or SAP schools. Higher Chinese pupils actually have a posting advantage for entry into SAP schools. So in the new systems, students applying to SAP schools will continue to receive this posting advantage, right? We actually have that going on. So this advantage will continue, right? And it applies before the tiebreaker that we discussed earlier. So on this slide, I have an example of 6 students, right? And they are arranged in order, in the descending order of posting priority. So the students with a PSLE score of 7, right, being the highest, compared with the others with 8 and 9, of course, will be posted first. So PSLE score comes first, top priority. Now, the second, third, fourth, and fifth, you'll find them tied at a score of 8, right? So among students with the same PSLE score of 8, students with a better grade in higher Chinese will therefore be given priority for the Sec 1 posting. So, and PS for higher Chinese, they are graded by distinction, merit, and pass, right? And of course, the last pupil with 8 points has no higher Chinese, so he'll be given placed in the 5th position. And just for clarity, right, we have a child with 9 points, score of 9. Although he's got distinction in higher Chinese, he'll be positioned 6, below that of the other pupils who scored higher than him. Okay, so this is the advantage for posting into SAP schools. I think the next question is something that all of you will be very interested to know. What about affiliation to St. Gabriel Secondary School? All right. Now, there is no change to our affiliation policy under the new PSLE scoring and Set 1 posting system, right? So affiliates eligible for affiliation. So in our case, for example, the Montfaucon School, St. Gabriel Secondary, right? They have the advantage of being considered for this, the minimum requirement indicative PSLE score, right? So we will let you know nearer to the S1 posting period, but do take note that in order for them to exercise this affiliation priority, they must indicate St. Gabriel Secondary as their first choice when they fill in the Set 1 posting options. Okay, so this is something to take note. We'll remind the boys again closer to the date. All right, next. Okay, I've completed the first part, which is about the PSLE scoring changes, as well as Set 1 posting. Now allow me to go into DSA, Direct School Admission. This is something that will be very interesting and relevant for you to take note of. Can I have the next slides? Now, Direct School Admission Scheme is a provision given because we believe that when we talk about offering students a wider pathways to develop their talents and interests, and their talents may be very varied in not just sports, but also CCAs, even in specific academic areas. So over the years, ever since DSA or Direct School Admission first started, I think slightly more than a decade. Many secondary schools have come on board. The last I know, there is more than 100 secondary schools, right, that offer priority direct school admission based on various areas such as sports and games, right? So some schools, they give DSA for students who are very talented in football, right, in badminton, or in specific CCAs, such as our band, for example, right? It can also be in visual literacy and performing arts. Yeah, I know SOTA takes in students who are talented in the aesthetic arts, right? Performing arts and music, and even in fine arts, visual arts. Okay, some schools have DSA in debate and public speaking, right? There are schools that gives priority direct school admission for students who are talented in the area of science, mathematics, and engineering, right? Languages and humanities, we also have that. And even for leadership, right? For example, those who are appointed school prefects. So these are advantages that you can explore. And to let you know further, can I have the next slide? Thank you. Right. So we are looking at, secondary schools, a long list of secondary schools that offer different talent areas, right? And of course, each school will have its own selection process, right? Coming up in May, right? DSA for secondary applications will be opening in May, very soon, next month. So you can actually, although your child is in primary 5, but I think if you want to explore this, you could go into the websites of the different secondary schools to find out more about their programs, about the exciting activities that they have to offer your boy, right, in terms of his talent or interest area, right? And of course, there will be a dedicated MOE DSA website that you can visit for more details. Okay, this is a summary sheet which we will share with you in our website. So it covers everything that we have been discussing, right? How we moved from T-score to a wider scoring band. Also touches on the choice of order of schools, right? We talk about tiebreakers. And of course, how the achievement level is computed, and also the scoring for foundation level subjects, and how mother tongue languages can be taken into consideration for priority into SAP schools. Right. Finally, we have come to some couple of frequently asked questions on the scoring changes. Allow me to go through this very quickly before we touch on the, we open out a time for Q&A, right? The questions have been asked, why are there 8 achievement levels to grade each subject, right? All right, mainly these 3 points. The achievement level actually reflect your boy's level of achievement in relation to the learning outcomes and the objectives of that curriculum, right? So it gives school educators as well as parents an idea of the progress of our students and how they can best be matched to the suitable academic program in secondary schools, right? Yeah, so I think this is one key point about why there's this range of 8 ALs. Next FAQ. Okay, so how are the mark range for the foundation subjects AL score being derived? As we mentioned earlier on, when we map the foundation ALA to AL 6, 7, and 8, AL ABC to 6, 7, 8 respectively on the foundation compared with the standard subjects, it is actually a reflection of the curriculum and assessment load, right? And more importantly, to determine how ready your child is to access the more challenging subject at the secondary school level, right? So if you know the previous system, there is this grade 1. So grade 1 actually gets mapped into achievement level A, right? And that indicates that the student is ready for NA or normal acad curriculum, right? And if we differentiate it any further, it will not be very meaningful, right? So there's just 3, ALA, ALB, and ALC. Next question. Right. How is the higher mother tongue language calculated under the new scoring system, and does it affect a student's secondary school posting? Now, for those of you who are familiar with higher mother tongue, right, students will receive a grade of distinction, merit, or pass for higher mother tongue language. There is no bonus points under our AL system, right? But students who are taking higher Chinese will continue to receive a posting advantage when applying to SAP or SAP schools. Okay, next. Right. We also know that amongst our Gabrielites, there are students with special education needs, right? And they may be MTL exempted. So we do recognize that there are extenuating circumstances, and we are also trying to strike a balance between the needs of students who are unable to take MTL and the efforts of those who take an MTL at PSLE. So therefore, because they are taking an additional subject, there is this learning and assessment load given to them, right? So yeah, we do take into account of all these things. Okay, yeah. I think with that, we come to a Q&A. Yeah, you may type the question in the chat group, yeah, or you may use the raise hand function, and we will unmute you to allow you to share your views with us. Let me just check the Q&A, whether there are any questions. Okay. So there was only one question about the recording. Yeah, and as my yearhead has explained, the session will be recorded. Yeah, and we'll also be sharing this with you once the webinar is over. Okay.
Mr. Lim, I think there is one parent who has raised the hand. I think it's Bernice. Is that you, Bernice?
Okay, yeah.
Bernice, would you like to ask your question over here?
Okay, well, Bernice is, we're waiting for Bernice to respond. Yeah, Mr. Lu has a question. I'm just reading from the chat box. I understand there is one cert for secondary. Yes, going forward in a secondary school, we will be, instead of the O-level cert, we will have our very own SEAB certifications. James Quek, right, ask a question: how can the school's prelim scores gives us an idea of the child's AL? Yes, Mr. Kong, would you like to share our practices on this?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the prelim results, normally what we will do is, because the prelim papers are often set in comparison with the PSLE papers, so often the prelim results is a very good indication as to how your child would be faring for the PSLE. So often with the results, obtained from the prelim, what we often do is we will have interventions put into place to try to support your child as much as possible, trying to close the learning gaps so as to get him ready before the PSLE comes. And hopefully, during this 2 months period before the PSLE, we're able to do some remediation, and in time, we'll be able to improve his results during this 2 months period of time. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kong. Just to add on to what Andy has just mentioned about our prelim papers, just want to assure all parents that over the past 3 years, leading up to the changes into the new system, SEAB, which is the examination board that administers the PSLE exam, they have actually called for our prelim paper to ensure that there is parity between, in terms of difficulty and challenging level, between our paper and their paper, right? So they do not want a paper that is too easy, neither do they want a paper that is too hard. Yeah, and they have given us feedback, and over the past 3 years, we have had a chance to actually calibrate our papers according to SEAB standard. So rest assured that the prelim marks of your child will be a pretty good reflection of the PSLE score. And of course, that's not to rule out that after the prelim, there will still be a short runway for improvement to be made to your child's achievement in those learning outcomes. Okay, I'd like to answer one of the questions from Mr. Gabriel Sim. Will CCE be relevant in posting to secondary school apart from for DSA purposes? Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's just share this. Jean, you want to answer this question?
Just to introduce, Madam Jean Heng is our HOD of Science. She's also one of the panelists this afternoon to answer the questions segment.
Okay, maybe I'll just answer on Jean's behalf. Now, CCA, yeah, apart from DSA, when you say relevant, if you are thinking of CCA points, whether it be counted in PSLE, no, it will not be, right? But DSA purposes, yes, CCA of course will matter, right? Your child's CCA participation, for example, if he's from the GFA, Gabrielite Football Academy, right, and their achievement is recognized at the zonal and national level, definitely when he applies for secondary schools that offers football as a DSA, he will stand a very good chance, right? But if you're talking about CCA points that contributes to the PSLE score, no. PSLE, the paper itself will be the main determining factor. Yeah.
I think it's also very important to, if your child is interested in, going for this particular school, I think it's very crucial for him to actually go and find out a bit more about the school culture, as well as the different types of programs that the school is offering, because every secondary school has its niche area, and every secondary school offers different programs to cater to the different groups of students. So I think it's very important that if your child has shortlisted a few schools, it is necessary for him to go and find out and know a bit more about the schools before he makes his decision.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out, Mr. Kong. I think this is a very useful point, especially for you P5 parents, because you have another 1.5 years to go, right? Before your child takes that very crucial PSLE exams. Yeah, and this coming May, right, next month, in fact, do go into the website of the school, because there will be a number of open house and so on. And, P5 is actually a right age, and during the open house, the secondary school will just share the virtual open house, I believe. It will still be virtual for most schools. I don't think there will be any face-to-face visits. But during the virtual open house, it's a great opportunity for you and your child to discover about the specialized areas in the school, right? The flagship programs. Yeah, and I think you get to see that our secondary schools are actually quite varied. There are multiple pathways that can excite your child's next learning journey phase, right? Okay, I will go on to Berenice's question about our then Minister of Education, Mr. Ong. Yikang, who announced the removal of express and normal stream in secondary school. So this is the subject-based banding, right, from 2024. Yes, this arrangement is still on target. So actually, for your child who is taking the PSLE in 2023, right, they are just in time to step into a secondary school landscape where SBB is being practiced throughout. So like I mentioned in the earlier slides, that means that if your child is able to attain a certain achievement level, he will be able to offer, say, a particular subject, say mathematics, at a more challenging level, right? I also want to answer a question by Mr. Lu about moving forward. Can a NA, normal acad or normal technical student be moved to express if he does better? Yes, there are lots of options to do that. But with the new SBB put in place, actually you will not see this 3 layers, so to speak, an NA class or NT class or express class. The secondary schools that have embarked on it, the pioneer batch that went into SBB, tells us that within the class, they actually have a good mix of students, right? Basically, they have done away with the distinction between normal acad, normal technical, and express. So it's going to be very exciting going forward into the year 2024. You can actually find out more about some of these schools from their website as well. Okay. There's a question from 5 Loy, Benedict Raphael, about full SBB. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think we've also answered that. Yeah, it does apply to this P5 cohort.
Good afternoon, parents. This is Madam Jean Heng. Pardon me just now for interrupting the Q&A. Yeah, now I would like to take a question from Mr. Bradley Fernando. All right. What if a student is in a sport that is not offered by SGPS, such as TKD? I assume that is Taekwondo. All right. Could the student apply under DSA? I think the child could still go and experience if there is an interview or an audition or a platform for the school. They actually open up the platform for students to try out the application. You could still go ahead with the application for the DSA. Yeah.
Like what Mr. Lim has shared earlier on, I think there are various domains under the different DSA application pathways. So in terms of the various domains such as CCA, such as sports and games, debate, whether it could be academic subjects as well as math and science, what you could do more is actually you could go to MOE School Finder website. From there on, you can from over there you can actually source the schools that offer the different DSA programs, and for instance, if you select I'm interested to apply for Taekwondo, and once I select Taekwondo, all the schools that offer DSA Taekwondo for DSA will appear. Then subsequently you can choose to find out a bit more from the schools themselves. Yeah.
Okay, to answer a question from Mr. Vilohit, will there be a benefit taking higher Tamil and scoring distinction? Yeah, if you're talking about that, it's if there is no SAP school equivalent for those taking Tamil. Yeah, and because of that, the benefit actually lies in the language competency of the child. Yeah, I think the answer is that it will be more to just to recognize that your child is talented in the Tamil language, and there will be opportunities for your child in the secondary school to actually explore taking the language at a higher level. And of course, I'm not too aware of the kind of programs that's available for the Tamil language, but I'm certain that our secondary schools are very adventurous. They will definitely want to be able to optimize talents even in the area of the Tamil language. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Are there any more questions that anyone would like to raise? You could actually Mr. Lim, we have a question. Affiliation under for St. Gabriel's Primary. Are we only affiliated to St. Gabriel's Secondary? I think the answer is yes. For affiliation, we are only affiliated to St. Gabriel's Secondary School. Mr. Lu has just raised his hands. Mr. Lu, would you want to unmute yourself and you can just say your question? Mr. Lu, I think I've given you the unmute function. Can you just try again?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I may ask a very stupid question.
Sure.
So moving forward, that means with the removal of the normal and express and SBB, so secondary school will be 4 years or 5 years? Because now with the normal track or normal academic, there's a 5 years.
Yeah.
Then there's an express, there's typically 4 years. So now with the whole SBB, so the students will all be 4 years graduating from secondary, or some will take longer in terms of learning capabilities, some will take longer, so it becomes 5 years.
Yeah, I think for the subjects that are being taken at the we have got basically the two kinds of papers that they'll be taking. Yeah, so I think MOE is also looking into streamlining this. So there is the O-level and the N-level exams. Yeah, so I think for the post-secondary admission, if you're looking at that, we are trying to streamline some of these efforts. Can we check on this and we get back to you, Mr. Lu?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm just...
Whether it's going to be 4 years or is it going to be 4 years for all?
Correct.
Or would there be,
I'm not shying away from that. My
Sure.
son is, I think you know that my son is a special need kid.
So,
and every kid performs differently when he comes to secondary school.
Certainly.
I just want to make sure that there is pathway for him. I don't know how he's going to perform in secondary school, but if there's a way that he suddenly opens up and he gains his intelligence overnight, and then he does very well in Sec 1, Sec 2. So at least he's given a fair chance that he will then progress as an express student moving forward. So, I just wanted to have some clarity.
Sure.
For SBB, you can return to me on this either via email or whatever, but I just want to raise this question, which I think is
hi, Mr. Lu, maybe I can jump in here.
Sure.
Yeah, while Mr. Lim was sharing, right, I had the chance to quickly Google it. Yeah, actually the information is available on MOE website.
Okay.
So subject-based banding, I think is progressively done. So over at MOE website, right, it says that from 2024, there will be full SBB in secondary schools. This means that from 2024, according to the MOE website, there will no longer be separate express, normal academic, and NT courses. So what a child will experience from 2024 is students will be in mixed form classes, where they can interact with peers of different strength and interests. Yeah, so it's from 2024. So I believe it's a progressive effort of our nation to move toward full SBB. Yeah.
Which means that this batch of students in P5 will then have the first-hand experience of a SBB in 2024. Am I right? Yeah.
Actually, to be exact, because of the pilot schools, they are already on SBB. There are already some students experiencing this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but by 2024, yes, it will be a general landscape will be this.
All will be experiencing SBB, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Okay, then I think that pretty much answered the question where I think MOE will try to streamline everybody to graduate at the same time. Then that means there's more distinction of a normal and a second. I mean, I'm just reading in the lines of what Madam Jin Heng has just mentioned. Okay, I mean, I'll go and take a look and probably interpret it for myself. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just scroll down to check for any other questions. Yeah. There's a question. Is there any internal exams graded for new PSLE? Don't quite understand this question by Catherine. Would you like to clarify? What do you mean by that? Okay, about internal exams graded for new PSLE. Okay, by Catherine Jacob. Yeah, then another question, and understand that O-level will be replaced by another format of national exams in 2027. How will the students be graded and proceed to the next stage of learning? Yeah, I'm afraid I won't be able to answer this question. I think the progression will be taking place, but rest assured that before we move into any of these national exams, there will be national announcements being made. And typically, the announcements will be made at least 2 years before this exam is being rolled out, these new exams, right? Then Jessica had a question, the affiliation and non-affiliation AL score for SGPS, since we are moving to, for referring to for affiliated secondary school, St. Gabriel's. Yeah, we will let you know because we are only able to know of the affiliation school closer to the Sec 1 posting, right? Any other questions? Yeah, you may also raise hand function, unmute yourself, and then we can get back to you as well.
Maybe I'd just like to talk about Rihanna. Rihanna asked about this question about students who are prefects. For the purpose of DSA, will the school provide the documentary evidence also? Definitely. Okay, if your child has been appointed as a prefect in the school, what the teachers or the teachers in charge will do is that they will actually enter this information into the school corporate system, such that your child has been appointed a prefect for the year 2020, 2021, for instance. And when you try to do a DSA application based on leadership itself, right, the secondary schools which you have applied for will be able to actually retrieve this information from the school corporate system, and we will be able to know that, all right, your child has been a prefect from year what to which year. Yeah, so hope that answers your question. For Catherine, Catherine, would you like to I think you mentioned a question, but it does not seem to be very clear. Would you want to add on to it regarding the internal exams created for the new PSLE? If you are referring to like what you are preparing the students for the various prelim examinations or the various weighted reviews, yes, these are the exams that are graded and being taken into the consideration for the school results. But if you're referring to results for the PSLE, it is going to be solely the results taken during the PSLE examinations itself.
Going back to the earlier question, whether from going forward from 2024, will it be a 4-year secondary school curriculum? There's this, this is from the Straits Times, so let me verify that before we will share it with you on the website, that says that by 2024, all students enrolling into Sec 1, meaning your child will be enrolling in that time, they will go through a 4-year curriculum for all subject bands. So it'll be 4 years. But it was also mentioned in the same website that MOE will be exploring other alternatives to a 5th year in secondary schools. And this 5th year may take the form of like the Poly Foundation program to help students who completed their secondary school enter Poly or JCs. So there are, the quite different, within the same website itself. So we'll find out more and we'll get back to you. But I think the secondary school landscape will be a very exciting one going forward. Yeah, because there is this polytechnics as well as JCs, and they are both very competitive nowadays. Yeah, I know that there are many top students who actually qualifies for JCs instead chose to enroll in a polytechnic. So I think over time you're going to see a very dynamic landscape, right? So there may well be this 5th year in secondary school as a foundation program for them to go into Institute of Higher Education. Okay, DSA leadership was a question that was put now. Leadership DSA, is it only applicable for prefects or other types of leadership can be considered? Yeah, maybe Mr. Kong, you want to share on this leadership aspect?
Yes, definitely. Okay. In terms of leadership DSA, it is not only limited to prefects actually. In fact, in our school, we have our various tier 2 leaders. Tier 2 leaders are leaders who actually engage and interact with the larger student population. So student leaders such as the peer support leaders, the NE ambassadors, the CCA leaders, all right, these are all definitely qualified. Okay, I would say qualified to actually try to apply for leadership DSA. It is definitely not only restricted or limited to only prefects. So if your son is holding an appointment, in the various leadership bodies, definitely I recommend him. If he has an interest to want to pursue this further, because I think going to DSA, one must be very mindful that when you go into secondary school based on DSA route, you have to really put a substantial amount of time and effort into venturing the area that you have selected. So it is a commitment, definitely. So it's very important to actually speak to your child, get his understanding whether would he want to continue to delve deeper, and then extend his learning in this particular area when he moves into secondary school. And if he does show interest, yes, definitely, I would recommend him and advise him to go to try to apply for it.
The commitment that Mr. Kong just mentioned is something that should be taken very seriously, because we do have situation where in the secondary school, rather my secondary school school leaders who are my friends, they have shared that it can create some tension, especially if after a year in that CCA, the child decided to back out of the CCA, right? So actually, when he gets into the secondary school via a DSA for, say, a particular sports, he has to be committed to take that sports all the way for his 4 years in secondary school. Yeah. Okay, to answer Fanny's question about the scoring wide band being quite wide in the middle range, wondering if it's possible more students will go into balloting. From the last experience, and the only one we had was last year's PSLE, balloting cases are far and few in between. Yeah, in fact, the tiebreaker managed to settle all before they even reach the stage of computerized balloting. Yeah.
So I think therefore this really emphasizes the importance of the choice orders of schools as well. I think especially if your child is interested to use affiliation to go into St. Gabriel Secondary, it is crucial for him to actually put that as his first choice. Yeah, and I think choice order is really very important, especially when you sit down with your son to discuss on the various school options that he is intending to apply for, and rank them accordingly. Yeah. I think with regards to Ms. Lau point whereby she mentioned that Catherine could be referring to whether is the school able to indicate the student's grade in the form of AL. Yes, that is something that can be done, which is possible. And this is something which the school is also actually working on to print out the AL grade of the child as well, just besides what he has obtained in terms of percentage results. Yep. So we will be able to indicate what he has gotten as an AL grade, and with that, you are able to do a calculation to see what is his total AL that he has obtained at the end, and after for all 4 subjects. But however, because we do not, for those students who are being exempted from mother tongue, or for those students who take a foreign language, earlier on Mr. Lim mentioned that is taken in comparison with students who are taking similar subjects. But in our school, we actually don't do this matching of results, or we don't do this trying to see what kind of assign a grade to him. As a result, for those students who actually do exemption on your results slip, you only be able to see 3 subjects instead of 4 subjects. Yeah. Are there any more questions that anyone would like to? Okay, we have just one question who has come in. If a student is not able to take the PSLE due to being ill or due to the pandemic itself, and also the student has not taken the prelim examinations because of certain reasons, how is MOE going to post this affected students? Okay, Mr. Lim, would you like to?
Yeah, okay. Typically, what SEAB will do will be to ask for the child's academic results in the mid-year exams. Yeah, and of course, now without the mid-year exams, we will be looking at the other weighted assessment of the child. So you know that the assessment is an ongoing thing, right? While we have done away next year with the mid-year exams, so we will still have other weighted form of assessment that will be taking place throughout your child's stay in P5 as well as in P6. So they will take that basket of grades and then they will then match it with students scoring the similar basket of scores, right? Combination of scores in the various that particular subjects over the period of time. And then that will be used to compare for SEAB to determine what is the PSLE score to assign your child. Yeah. So I think they'll try to do it in the fairest possible way. Yeah. So to go back to Berenice's question, will the school do away mid-year exam next year? Yes. The answer is from 2023 onwards, there will not be any more mid-year exams for all levels, primary right up to secondary. Yeah. Okay, as for dropping mother tongue language in Sec 1 by a question by one of the parent, this one will have to be discussed with the school concerned in the secondary school. Yeah, and I think they will require a very strong reason why the exemption from mother tongue language. Yeah, we still take mother tongue language very seriously because bilingualism is the foundation of our education system, right? So it will definitely be, the school will definitely want to work very closely with the parent concerned if there is any request or appeal on the parent regarding dropping of mother tongue language.
I think similarly for this question about changing to foundation level in secondary one, I think it really is important that you discuss the necessary concerns with your child's teacher at that point of time, because there could be certain issues. You know, for instance, if you realize that there may be certain issues, learning issues that you would like to address, and you would like him to move to foundation, this is best discussed with your child's foundation, the teachers at that point of time. I think they will have a clearer understanding and know how to support you better if there's a need to move to foundation. Priya, I presume you are mentioning about foundation and standard subjects at primary 5 and 6 level. Okay, if let's say at the end of this year, primary 5, your child sits for the examination and he may not have done that well. He may not have done that well. Okay, and as a result, the school, we do a holistic assessment of his overall results across all 4 subjects. And we find that, in the best interest of him, we're thinking about his ability to cope with the various subjects as well as ability to cope with the difficulty level in primary 6. Definitely the school would perhaps recommend for him to do foundation. Okay, because I think ultimately what the decision is actually in the best interest of your child. Whatever decision that the school has made or will be making is, in consideration of the various factors of how we want your child to be able to learn. And most importantly, we do not want to snatch away the joy of learning from him. Yeah, so that is the mindset that we are actually adopting when it comes to recommending for foundation and standard subjects in primary 6. Okay, I think we've got one last question about the recognition of SEAB cert. As far as I'm aware, I'm aware, and I do know that SEAB with a PSLE cert to begin with, I think it is highly recognizable, right? I believe that in terms of various institutions that you want to apply for, and with this PSLE cert that that's been obtained in Singapore, I'm certain most of the institutions will be able to recognize this as a qualifications obtained in Singapore.
For the global recognition, I can't say for certainty, but I do know that MOE is working with some of the more reputable examination authority like Cambridge to see whether it is possible for them to validate our certification process. So if it is validated by some of these examination authorities like the Cambridge authority, and if there's I'm not sure how this piece of work is going on, but if it's successfully validated, then of course the recognition will be there globally. But it's definitely going to take some years for our our Singapore's certification to be recognized. And going forward, let's hope that this post-pandemic world, anything can happen. You wouldn't know how things will unfold. But I think our education system is recognized for its rigor and its high standard. The standing is there, so the willingness by any other foreign schools to recognize our SEAB certification, I would say it should be relatively high.
Okay, is there anyone who would like to ask the last question? Any last question? Of course, this is not the end.
Mm.
All right. So if you do have any questions along the way, that may just suddenly come to your mind, please feel free to just drop us an email. All right. My email can be located on the website. If not, actually, you could also drop it to the school's generic email, and they will actually forward it to us for a response. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Lim, anything you'd like to add on?
Yeah, just want to thank you, parents, for taking your precious time to be with us for this afternoon's webinar. Yeah, in fact, the form teachers are also participating in this webinar. So do feel free to, text your child's form teacher, whether through the dojo or whichever means you've been communicating with the teacher. And I'm sure the questions will come back to all of us, especially the school leaders. Yeah. So if there's nothing else, want to wish all of you a wonderful long weekend. Yeah, and enjoy. Have a blessed Maundy Thursday and blessed Good Friday tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, parents, and have a good long weekend.
Yeah.
See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.